Bangladesh Protibondhi Kalyan Sammiti, or BPKS, is a pioneer organisation of all types of disabled persons. It was established in 1985 under the initiative and leadership of Abdul Sattar Dalal. Considering the mission of BPKS, BPKS has developed an approach, Persons with Disabilities Self-Initiative to Development, or PSID, which promotes the vital involvement of persons with disabilities in national development. BPKS organised a 5-day international seminar entitled One for All, Persons with Disabilities, Initiatives in Development, to share and build understanding of the PSID approaches. The opening ceremony provided an opportunity to spread awareness and understanding both about the seminar and about BPKS's PSID approach beyond the selected seminar participants. The ceremony started with a welcome speech by Mr. Abdul Sattar Dalal.
Dear guests, dear colleagues, representatives of disabled people's organizations from across the world and from Bangladesh, representative of diplomatic mission, donors, development partners, medias, BPKS staff and members, we all disabled people remember you today present in this ceremony. I welcome you and love you all.
The chief guest of the ceremony was Major General Motiur Rahman.
I want to say, disabled people can be a power for all of us, a power for our economy, a power for appropriate development of the nation. We can and should enhance our commitment towards the development of disabled people through ensuring the implementation of different national and international policies and programs, including the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Disabled people are among the poorest and most marginalized. I also think that their human rights are not always given due consideration in the planning and development process. Due to this, we do not find equal rights and opportunities and meaningful inclusion of people with disabilities in the mainstream development process. BPKS, a leading Bangladeshi disabled people's organization that currently works using its self-developed approach, Persons with Disabilities Self-Initiatives to Development.
The special guest was Mr. Douglas Foskett.
Shobai, Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I'd like to congratulate and express my appreciation to the leaders of Bangladesh Protibondhi Kalyan Sammiti for their ongoing commitment to advancing the rights and opportunities for people with disabilities. This seminar, One for All, Persons with Disabilities Initiatives in Development, demonstrates clearly the success of their work and the progress they've made. If people with disabilities can manage their own lives, and let's face it, we all know plenty of people who are fully able who struggle to do that, what is to stop them contributing, extending that capacity into the wider world? If they can lead organisations for disabled people successfully, I see no reason why they cannot take other leadership roles. If they can inspire, motivate and organise people with disabilities, why should not those capacities be extended across all of society? And let us not forget that one of the great leaders of the 20th century, importantly, it serves people with all types of disabilities. It is holistic in its approach to addressing the needs of people with disabilities, and it fully recognises and expresses the human rights of its beneficiaries. It facilitates the sustainable development of people with disabilities.
Other speakers at the ceremony were Professor Dr. Nazmul Ahsan Kalamullah, Chairman, Department of Public Administration, Dhaka University; Mr. Jack de Groot, CEO of Caritas Australia; Mr. Bill Winkley, CEO, One Family International, USA; Mr. Ton de Klerk, MSc, RRD Consultancies and member of NED-WORC Association; Ms. Pamela Meschar, Program Officer, Bangladesh, Bread for the World, Germany; Bethia Sullivan, International Program Officer, CBM Australia, and Ms. Natalie Silcock, Australian Volunteer and Seminar Team Leader, BPKS. The ceremony was presided over by Mr. Saiful Islam, Chairman of BPKS. In addition to seminar participants, the ceremony was attended by representatives of foreign diplomatic missions, government and non-government organisations, and Bangladesh's disabled people's organisations. After the opening speeches, ceremony guests were treated to a series of cultural performances from Bangladeshi performers, all of whom are people living with disabilities. The first performer of the cultural program was Ms. Rita Powell. She sung the humanitarian song Manusher Junne. A duet was sung by Fazali Rabi and Rosina Begum. A dance was then performed by Cynthia Talukta. The last presentation was a chorus, O People, the Disabled Are Not Disabled, led by Bashir Ahmed and associates Monirul, Animesh and Rita.
সকলের সহযোগিতা এগিয়ে যায়।
The last event, maybe the most important of the evening, was
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first day of the seminar. We don't have everyone here at the moment, but we might get started. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Natalie Silcock. I'm the person that has been leading the BPKS team organising this seminar. I'm a volunteer from Australia.
Day one of the seminar set the scene for the participants, outlining the situation of people with disabilities and the challenges their organisations face on a worldwide and national level. Also discussed were the impetus of the establishment of both the Bangladeshi Pratibandhi Kalyan Sammiti (BPKS) and its Persons with Disabilities Self-Initiatives in Development or PSID approach. Participants were given an introduction to the working approach of BPKS PSID. The day's proceedings started with a welcome and participant introduction facilitated by Abdul Sattar Dalal and Bill Winkley.
I am very interested in the PSID to learn about the practical approach to human rights context, and that's why I'm here. I'm also in the board of a Finnish foundation, which might be familiar to some of you. It's a Finnish development fund, and there are also a lot of projects going on here in Bangladesh.
Professions. One, I'm a teacher. I taught for 13 years, and then I left teaching and joined a disability movement as a consultant, and worked with one of the disability-based organization in Zimbabwe as a consultant in disability and development.
After the introduction, discussion sessions were started around the topic, The World Today from the Perspective of People with Disabilities. The main contents of the session were the current situation for people with disabilities, approaches to disability, and organisations involved in disability at national and international levels. The session was facilitated by Abdul Sattar Dalal, Bill Winkley, and Jashim Uddin.
Was one that said disability is not even a component of our interests. And we said, please just come look at what we're doing. The person came, she looked at what we were doing, she committed on the spot.
After launch, the second session started on BPKS and the development of PSID. The main contents of the discussion were how BPKS came to be and how the Persons with Disabilities Self-Initiatives to Development approach was conceived. Facilitator of the session was Mr. Bill Winkley and Jashim Uddin.
Has a chance to be one good model, and that is what I do expect as well, to strengthen my knowledge about PSID, to strengthen the partnership with BPKS, but also to see as to whether we can find possibilities, opportunities.
The third topic of the day was PSID, an overview, where participants were presented with what PSID sets out to do and the basic components of PSID. The session facilitator was Abdul Sattar Dalal.
I'm just wondering how the component of disability prevention helps them, because they are already people with disabilities.
People in the nation, as I am the citizen of that nation. So this is the PSID program is very much development program. It is human right based development program.
The day ended with a video presentation of PSID activities as implemented by BPKS. Day 2 of the seminar further developed understanding regarding the PSID approach and its implementation, impact and sustainability. The day's first topic was an overview of the PSID approach implementation strategy, where the step-by-step implementation process of the PSID approach was described in detail, from the establishment of the grassroots organisations through to the establishment and localisation of the district-level organisation. The way in which programs and services are implemented under PSID were also outlined. The session was facilitated by Jashimuddin and Muhammad Hanan.
PSID approach strongly believes that it is holistic approach. So it is not to give it for money to establish income generating, as well as advocating to ensure their rights.
Or forgotten the repressive members, or remove the patients, the repressive in Bangladesh.
The next topic was PSID, Sustainability After Localisation, the inbuilt mechanisms to ensure that PSID is sustainable after the initial implementation period. Abdul Sattar Dalal was the facilitator of this session.
And share that so that everyone gains an overall perspective. So whilst those of you that aren't visiting this DPO won't get a hands-on experience, your fellow attendants will report back to the group their experiences, and we'll use that as an opportunity to build on. Because of the distance, because we work in rural areas, it's not possible to visit all of the areas and do all the things, so we've had to adjust the schedule for that purpose.
The afternoon session's topic was the impact of PSID, our personal stories. Toyub Ali and Hafsa, two people with disabilities who have been able to change their lives through PSID, tell their stories.
These two people to the level at which they are, because it's not easy to bring disabled people to this level where they have confidence and they can address even an international meeting like this one. I have two questions. One is to maybe to Hafsa, and the other one to Tayo. Now, my first question is, when the money is raised by the consumers of the program at the community level, the district level, I'm wondering whether that money is kept by the members or is kept by the bank or some other institution. Who keeps the money?
তৃণমূল পর্যায় থেকে এভাবে প্রতিনিধিদেরকে নির্বাচিত করে ওই ইউনিটের সদস্যরা নির্বাচিত করেন, এবং আমাদের চাঁদপুরে নারীদের উন্নয়ন করার জন্য আলাদা একটা কমিটি, ওমেন উইথ ডিসেবিলিটি সেক্টর আলাদা একটা সংগঠনের কাজ করে থাকে।
PSID approach with this loan scheme and other agricultural activities, economic empowerment. Do you feel that the person without education can be empowered?
আমি অশিক্ষিত একজন, একদম আমার শিক্ষিত বলতেই নাই, এবং আমি যেভাবে আগ্রহীত এখনো হয়নি, তারা বলে প্রতিবন্ধী ঢুকি আবার কি হবে, এখন আমার কার্যক্রম দেখিয়ে তারা আগ্রহী, দুজন এখন বাবা মা এরা সবাই আগ্রহী হয়ে আমার কাছে আসতেছে।
The final topic of the day was the wider impact of PSID, how PSID makes a difference beyond lives of individual people with disabilities and their families. Abdul Sattar Dalal was the session facilitator.
You have to be a member of the Brussels for a number of years. I heard that you mentioned about needing to have some savings first. So we need to have set criteria for one to be eligible or to qualify for a loan. And relating to that, if somebody who has taken a loan and could not repay,
আমাদের দেশে এবং গ্রাম পর্যায়ে প্রতিটি প্রতিবন্ধী বিচ্ছিন্নভাবে করে, আর সঞ্চয়ের একমাত্র উদ্দেশ্য হচ্ছে প্রতিবন্ধীদের একত্রিত ঐক্যবদ্ধ করা। কিছু একটা না থাকার চেয়ে সামান্য কিছু থাকলে যে কোনো সময় অনেক বড় ধরনের সমস্যার সমাধান করতে পারে।
The third day provided all seminar participants with the opportunity to see the PSID approach in action at a grassroots level. Participants visited 4 areas close to Dhaka that have been implementing the PSID approach for varying lengths of time. Manikganj, Disabled People's Organisation to Development, Narshingdi, Disabled People's Organisation to Development, Noakhali, Disabled People's Organisation to Development, and Protibondi Kolyan Society, Dhaka. Visitors to each area had the opportunity to learn about PSID practically in the aspects of people with disabilities leadership and management, planning and decision making, and services and interactions with the community. All participants had the opportunity to meet with people with disabilities who had benefited from the PSID approach, as well as with the decision-making bodies and people working in the local organisations. The session's fourth day was an opportunity for sharing of experiences from the field and for the beginning of discussions of the possibilities for taking PSID beyond Bangladesh's borders. The day started with the presentations from each of the 4 teams regarding the previous day's visits and followed up by general discussion about this feedback. Facilitators of the session were Mohammed Hanan and Natalie Silcock.
I made some notes and I will share the notes with you and maybe my colleagues, and then add in something they would like or correct me if I have something wrong here. So I will tell you what happened there after a nice ride with car. It all started in '96 when BPKS operated an advocacy project for 2 years in that area, and that time it became apparent that people with disabilities were receiving some support, for example, income support, but they were not benefiting from it.
The main topic of the day was Report from the Field. Mr. Ton de Klerk and Professor Dr. Nazmul Ahsan Kalamullah present on their findings from the recent field study investigating the economic and social-cultural impact of PSID. The social impact, economic impact and sustainability of the PSID approach were discussed with reference to the 3 study areas.
The type of words which were used to describe and identify different types of disabled people was also very demeaning and degrading. And PSID intervention actually revolutionized the whole scenario. This kind of a mental revolution, not within and also without the larger society. So it's quite amazing. If you visit Manipur, that's the place where PSID was tried compared to other places like Bogra, Tamil first. And you can easily sort of assess the difference.
Persons with disabilities in different activities that are found in the communities, like both economic, social and religious. For example, people with disabilities at the levels at which you did your research involved in, for example, religious activities. And if they're involved in those religious activities, at what level? Are they just recipients of the programs or they are part and parcel?
After lunch, Bill Winkley and Natalie Silcock presented the synthesis of proceedings to date, including discussions and a question and answer session.
I mean that we want to sustainability of DPO. First of all, we would like to have a more structure that it's very clear for them, and we would like to divide the part for them to do the action. Like, I mean that we are staying in the position in the national level, and we are staying in the grassroots level. We do in the grassroots level. If we have some problem, we can bring it up to discussion. Like we have, in generally, my organization have we call network meeting each other between.
We have a system. We start from the union level. We have no ward now anymore in Pakistan. Before this was we have wards, but now we have not anymore ward. So we start basic unit is union council, and second basic union is Upazilla sub-district. We call their taluka or tahsil. And third unit is direct district. So this is the administrative division in Pakistan.
DPOs yesterday. Lots of time field visits over the years, but specifically. So let me, if you can either accuse me of ignorance or having fresh eyes, I'm happy either way. But what is important in these questions, as I said, as a donor organisation, is that PSID is substantially a community development philosophy. And donors need that, pardon my language, rammed down their throats, bashed into their heads. Because that's not what donors always think about. We have a rhetoric about supporting it, but we don't often see it.
In the evening, Abdul Sattar Dalal and Bill Winkley facilitated the discussion on the adaptability of the PSID approach and included what it is about PSID that allows it to be adaptable to situations and organisations beyond BPKS and Bangladesh, prospective roles in PSID implementation outside of Bangladesh.
We have a discussion that why we are not developed person with disability in Indonesia. The unique things that we got here depends on my needs. So this is the 4 point that we have a lot interested in it. And then I come to the challenging of my own country, Indonesia, about we have the local regulation.
After the day's proceedings, participants visited BPKS head office at Uttara, Dhaka, where they were introduced with different sectional activities of BPKS, such as the Assistive Device Production Centre and the Information and Communication Technology. Afterwards, a dinner was organised with all BPKS staff members. The first session of the last day of the seminar picked up on the preceding afternoon's discussions about replicating PSID in other countries and also about how funding agencies saw their role in working with disabled people's organisations within their organisational framework.
It's a very serious program, and to manage these types of resource, you need a good people, you need a capable people, you need a good organization, you need a committed organization. You need to prove that you are trustful, sincere into the work.
Organizations joined from Sri Lanka. We have 22 member organizations. They work in rural areas. They cover women with disabilities and all the other disabilities. So actually, what I will do is call up a meeting or a seminar like this and give them a good understanding about the PSID and to implement them in our own organizations and their districts or villages. So, and also these materials and the information is also very useful so that I can distribute them to various areas. Especially these, I was very interested about this loan scheme that they have, how they grant loans and to recover, because in Sri Lanka for persons with disabilities, actually it's changing, but most persons with disabilities.
After this discussion, participants worked together in small groups to plan their next steps for when they return to their respective countries and organisations. Feedback to the whole group from this session was very thought-provoking and informative, with participants recognising that the seminar provided the first step in a series of many to implement PSID in their own countries or support it as an approach for use with the partner organisations they work with in other developing countries. The final day also provided seminar participants with the opportunity to provide formal feedback on the seminar and on their plans to use what they had learnt during the 5 days when they returned to their respective countries and organisations.
The first thing we shall do when we go back home is to share the information about this seminar. We realize that we are here, we are representatives of our organizations where we come from, and therefore it will be useful for us to share this information.
We are now starting here to disseminate this program on an international level. Now, with how many countries are here now? 10. We should look first into our own capacity. When we talk about your capacity and the capacity of BPKS, we have also to look into our own capacity. It is a mutual process, so we need stimulus from you, from BPKS and from the different DPOs in the country. So we then said it should be a step-by-step approach, not now a big rollout that we say from tomorrow onwards we try to implement in 20 countries, so that we look where are our geographical priorities, where are our funds at present committed to, that we look then, perhaps it is Cambodia for CBM and perhaps it is Ethiopia for Caritas.
All participants were presented with certificates of participation in the seminar, with the final formality being the gaining of consensus on a concluding resolution for the seminar. A resolution that was unanimously adopted and signed by all participants present on the day and marked the closing of the seminar.
The BPKS staff, and particularly the seminar team, are thanked for their sharing of this comprehensive and well...
The main points of the resolution were BPKS be encouraged in consultation with funding organisations and disabled people's organisations to serve as a resource for the implementation of PSID in other nations. Participating representatives of developing nations be encouraged to assess the feasibility of implementing the PSID approach in their own nations and/or organisations, and that donor agencies be encouraged to support BPKS in the development of the mechanism for sharing PSID with other developing nations.